Most of us are shaped by family. Relatives we've known and some whose legacies we can only trace on paper. And then there's Wayne Swiller.
Just going through some of the photos.
He never imagined how his great-great-grandmother would shape his life more than a century after her death.
It's bizarre. I mean, whenever I tell anybody about it, they go, what?
Her name? Esther Ann Granger, a soul whose fate...
She was buried in a cemetery in Indiana.
...took such a twisted turn.
They believe her remains were dug up from the cemetery by grave robbers.
That only now is she truly at rest.
The technology is one part of it, right? The other is people who care.
It started last spring with a phone call to Wayne's home in Camas. His wife, Marge, answered.
They said, hi, this is so-and-so from the Kane County Coroner's Office.
Kane County, that's just outside Chicago.
She asked if Wayne Swiller lived here. I said, yes.
The coroner told Marge about a possible cold case in Batavia, Illinois, dating back to 1978. It made headlines in the Batavia Chronicle. Human bones found in home. Remodeling holds surprises. In this old house, behind a plaster wall, homeowner Martha Skinner discovered this partial skull and a lower jawbone. Said Martha to reporters, "When I first found it, I was hysterical. I could tell it was human because of its size, and I just freaked out." Police concurred. They figured the bones had fallen there from the attic, but whose were they? For the next 45 years, the skull would sit in storage at the Batavia Historical Society Museum. Then, 3 years ago, a volunteer rediscovered it, and the remains were on the move again. This time, they landed in the Kane County Coroner's Office. Deputy Coroner Gabriella Allison got the case.
I feel honored to really be a part of sharing Esther's story and Wayne's family.
Back to that first phone call with Marge.
She said, well, through DNA sequencing and paper trail, we believe that these bones are Wayne's great-great-grandmother. I hung up the phone, thought, Wayne's never going to believe this.
He didn't.
He goes, it's a scam. It's a scam. It's a scam, Marge. You fell for the scam. I go, no, it is not. It is not a scam.
Wayne called back anyway, just for fun.
I feel bad about it now, but I told her right off the bat, you know I don't believe you, right? And I'll allow you to talk, but I do not believe you.
The biggest challenge was just getting him to believe us.
Kane County Coroner Rob Russell says people in Batavia were struck by the morbid mystery and anxious to help solve it. Through crowdfunding, they raised $7,500 for DNA testing. The county hired Texas-based Othram, which specializes in cold case resolution.
Othram told us that the skull was highly processed, and in saying that, that would lead us to believe that she was used for teaching or educational purposes.
It was 1866, a time when grave robbing was a real problem. Historians tell us doctors would buy the cadavers to practice on.
This kind of thing happened, unfortunately, way too commonly.
Back then, a body-snatching wretch could fetch 4 months' wages for a corpse.
They would either part them out or they would sell them as a whole. They would make, they made money, a lot of money, as I had said. And obviously, the fresher, the better.
Esther died from childbirth. She was just 17. There are no photos of her, but that's Esther's daughter.
So this one's my mom and her brother.
They lived in Marysville, Indiana. Investigators believe that's where grave robbers dug up Esther's remains, then hauled them 200 miles north to a buyer in Batavia who lived here.
The first true homeowner of the home in Batavia was a surgeon.
The cold case was heating up. When Gabriella tracked down Wayne, all she knew about him was that he was one of Esther's last living relatives. But sometimes the story just writes itself.
And I said, do you know what Wayne used to do? Because she was talking about cold case and DNA technology. And I said, he used to work with cold case at the Portland Police Bureau. And she's like, you're kidding.
Wayne helped launch Portland's cold case unit. He's retired now, but the hundreds of cases he worked on are still with him.
It was emotional. I remember the times that our whole team was crying along with the family, and yeah, it was really rewarding to put some sort of closure to it.
I instantly had a connection with him, just because I could tell that he was very passionate about his work. And I think that he also felt the same way about us here.
They're committed and they really want to do the best that they can.
They wanted to lay Esther to rest and, in another sense, bring her back to life. To achieve that, a forensic artist created this rendering from the partial remains. Esther Ann Granger, age 17.
I was emotional just to finally put a face to the name. Yeah, I did kind of cry.
The coroner's office flew Wayne to Illinois and organized this memorial for Esther.
You know, we do this because it's important. You know, every life is important.
The city of Batavia donated space for Esther's ashes. It meant the world to Wayne.
I want to really thank Gabby and Rob for their persistence. I also want to thank them for their respect, the respect they show for my family and also for Esther.
It's true. Most of us are shaped by family. That includes the relatives we choose.
He's become a family of the King County Coroner's Office. Wayne, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for assisting us.
Back home,
There was a sense of like the journey is completed.
it only took 158 years and believing in the unbelievable.
I don't know what she's thinking now, but I'm very glad that she's at peace finally. Very glad.
In Camas,
I hope we did things right for her.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.